Hi Nick, can you hear me?
Oh, mate. Sorry, I didn't get the audio there.
There we are. Can you hear me?
I can hear you perfect, mate. You got me?
Perfect, perfect. Um, thanks for giving up your time.
Yeah, no worries at all, mate. We're keeping busy and trying to get things sorted, but also got a little bit of time on hands.
Yeah, no, that's the silver lining to all this. I think a lot of people have a spare half an hour for a chat. So
Yeah, that's right. We're just having one. Yeah, sorry to keep you. We were going over some options of maybe some one of the sports we do is pool, and you might have seen we've been doing darts at home, so we're looking at like pool and snooker at home now. So we're just trying to nail that. 'Cause obviously, darts is quite easy to do because most people have a darts, well, certainly pro players have a darts board and you can throw arrows at
yeah.
your own board. But other sports, I mean, yeah, I don't know how you'd play ping pong from two remote locations. That's probably a whole new challenge. So, yeah, it's,
All
hopefully
right.
by January we're all good.
Yeah, yeah. Well, just first of all, obviously for the ping pong community, table tennis community that may watch this, if you give you a little introduction on who you are, what's your role within Matchroom, and your role within the ping pong side of things as well.
Yeah, so I'm Nick Teale. I am head of media and marketing for Matchroom Multisport. Matchroom Multisport is a division of Matchroom Sport who look after various different events, including the World Championship of Ping Pong. So we're also responsible for pool, for tenpin bowling, for fishing, netball, gymnastics, basketball. We do a little bit of snooker ourselves as well. And then, yeah, in ping pong, our involvement is the World Championship, which hopefully most of you have seen each January at Ali Pali.
So, what exactly do you do within in the ping pong side thing? You personally?
So quite a lot actually. It's a kind of all-encompassing role. So that's overseeing the qualifying events that happen around the world, at the event itself, the format and how all the fixtures. If anyone's been and sees those 8 tables on a Saturday afternoon, just kind of make sure everyone knows who's playing, who, where, and when, because the format is slightly complicated to follow sometimes because you don't know. There's 10 fixtures per table within 4 hours. But you only know the first 4 before you start, and everything else is determined from who wins or loses where. And then overseeing the media side as well, so promoting the event, marketing, getting it out there, and that kind of thing.
Yeah. So, if this is a question actually from Chris Duran,
Yeah.
if he needed to bribe anyone to get a wild card, would it be you?
But we don't take bribes for wild cards, I'm afraid. I think Chris is probably in a good place though for getting one. If I'm sure Chris would qualify because Chris is one of the top players.
Yeah.
Each year we do have 1 or 2 wild cards we reserve just to make sure if there's anybody who slipped through the net, we can make sure that the field is kind of full. But we prefer that everybody qualifies, and if we don't have to give out any wild cards, then perfect, because it's a world championship, so it should be players who've qualified to be there.
Yeah, that's one of the best things about the ping pong compared to the table tennis. And I know I'm biased, but it's actually open to everyone. Like my uncle, if my uncle wanted to play, he could enter. He could enter the qualifier as it is at the moment, and
Mhm.
he has a shot at becoming world champion. I think that's just unbelievable.
Yeah, that's the idea. It's the whole premise of kind of the ping pong, the sandpaper format, is that anybody can play. You can pick up a bat and get playing. And obviously with table tennis and the rubber, and it can get quite expensive to play at that top level, whereas sandpaper, everybody's using the same relatively cheap bat. And as you say, anybody can pay their qualifying fee, which, country to country varies slightly, but is around £20-25 to enter. And yeah, you've got a shot then at being the world champion. And certainly at least, and we see it every year, there's stories of guys who've entered the qualifying and have won their way through to play at Ali Pali, and just to get to that stage is something exciting for them. And of course, yeah, there is always that opportunity you can get all the way to the final and win the big money.
Yeah, I think best example of that is Yan Wei Hao from China. I played against him on the Thursday at the last chance qualifier, and I lost to him, and I was pretty upset, to be honest, because I was like, oh, I lost to, like, I don't know, he didn't even qualify in China, kind of thing. He went on to win it on the Saturday, Sunday. He didn't lose a match since he landed in England, but he didn't qualify through China. So
Absolutely. It's one of the great things with the last chance, especially because a lot of the international teams have already arrived. So Chinese team every year come over ready for the last chance. They've got their sort of 4 or 5 guys who've already qualified, but there's probably another half dozen guys who play in that last chance saloon event. And yeah, any one of them, especially because for those who don't know, the qualifying process in China is actually quite drawn out. They have thousands and thousands of entries, and basically have regionalized qualifying across 40 or 50 different cities. And then they have an overall finals where, a few spots are handed out in the main event, but many have to then rely on coming to last chance. So the quality in China is exactly that anybody who hasn't actually qualified through the Chinese qualification process could still qualify at last chance and go on and win the event. And like you say, we saw that with Yan Weihao, and it's a good story. And you know, hopefully, I think we've seen it at the last chance before, guys who maybe apart from Yan haven't gone and won it, but have gone and done quite well. And one problem we always have with last chance is when you're doing the draw for the event itself, you're trying to keep each group fairly even, but you don't know who's coming through last chance. All you know is that whoever it is, and it's been yourself in the past, Ashley, they're going to be top players. So it's difficult to seed them higher than somebody who technically is qualified ahead of them, but equally, you know, the quality at that last chance qualifier is almost as high as the main event itself.
Yeah, I wouldn't want that job, to be honest.
It's not easy.
Difficult one. Actually, while we're on the qualification talk, the qualification system, this is one for more of a local issue, I suppose. And I didn't want to bring up any negative issues, and we're not going to solve anything from this chat, but I just wanted your opinion on it. I know some people have the opportunity to play in more qualifiers than others. Is that something you're looking at to make it more?
Yeah, it is. It's one of those things with the qualifying. In some countries, it's open. In some countries, it's closed. And in some countries, we just don't have qualifying events at all, which obviously is something. Look, in an ideal world, we would have qualifying events in every single country and have a system that way. We're not in that world, and we're relying on a lot of very good people in countries all over the world who help us put these qualifiers on and run them locally. But of course, that does come with their own local rules, and we don't want to have too much control over how people run their own local tournaments. But equally, when it's a World Championship spot, we want to make sure that the right people are coming through and that there's equal opportunity for people. So yeah, each year we look to improve the qualification system slightly on the year before. We hear the feedback from the players and from the people who organise them. And, you know, sometimes it is tricky just taking the UK situation. Say you have a Scotland qualifier, which is for people in Scotland, but then a UK qualifier and some English ones which aren't necessarily open. And then you get into the complications of what makes an open and a closed qualifier. And, you know, does somebody who lives in London but isn't from London, should they play in the UK one or an England one, or should they go to their home country and play? To be honest, in an ideal world, every qualifier should be an open event, so that if you actually wanted to go and play every qualifying event around the world until you got a spot, then you're entitled to do that. But we do have to appreciate that sometimes that doesn't always work for the local qualifier themselves as well. Or sometimes the qualifier isn't directly a World Championship qualifier. It might be a national championship, whereby part of the prize is a spot at the World Ping Pong Championship. So it's a difficult one. That's each event is unique to itself and has its own rules. But yeah, it's something that we would like to smooth out as much as possible. And as I say, the ideal for us is that every qualifying event is open.
Okay, yeah, that's something that I'll definitely be up for. I think most players just wanted that kind of clarity. I think the general consensus was it either needs to be all closed or all open. And if they are closed, you can only play one. If they're open, you can play as many as you like. It's quite a simple thing. But I understand from the points you just said, I can see there's a little bit more to it than that. But
yeah, that's right. Some countries it's slightly different. You know, obviously in the UK we're quite lucky that in Scotland, in Wales, in Ireland, and in England we have specific qualifying events just for the World Championship of Ping Pong. So, you know, even with that, there's not quite the consistency between them all in terms of the entry rules. But yeah, in other countries, take the Czech Republic as an example, their national championship, we then hand the spot into the World Championship of Ping Pong on the back of that, because not every country, they're able to have standalone events, and also some countries are just too vast. You take America, for example, you couldn't have one American qualifying event in, say, New York, because then what happens to the guys in California? So sometimes you have to try and piggyback on the back of other events which are already taking place.
Yeah, I know. And then we just got to appreciate that there's that many qualifiers going on at the moment. These people that are able to get a hall and get players playing, and basically they're promoting the sport. So just appreciate that they're doing the hard work. And then most of them are volunteers at the end, aren't they, as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody who puts this on is doing it for the love of the game, and we're very lucky and very grateful for those people for doing that. There's no revenue involved in it for them. You know, we help them out with the bats and sometimes the balls for the event, but on the whole, it's their own. You know, they're putting into this, and the entry fees that they collect usually go into things like the venue hire for the day, and sometimes helping the winner actually get to the World Championship. Somebody who's coming from the other side of the world, they might need a little bit of a prize fund, so there might be $500 for them to get an airfare to get here as well.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No. Just coming on to a few other questions.
Mm-hmm.
I know obviously you're not speaking on behalf of Matchroom, you're speaking on behalf of yourself, your own opinion. But what were the expectations of the sport from the very start? Because you've been involved from the very start.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I joined Matchroom probably about 9 months before our first World Championship. So yeah, it was the first kind of new event I worked on, the first time sport we picked up. Look, with everything that we try, it's hard to go in with expectations of it's going to be. When we first get involved in sports, people within that sport look at the darts and the snooker and the boxing and think, "Wow, look at that!" And that, of course, is what we'd love to achieve in so many sports. But it's about giving opportunity to the players, creating big events for people who like the sport to come along to, and hopefully, more importantly, bringing more people into the sport. So getting more people playing ping pong or playing table tennis. I know there's still within the sport, some people in table tennis don't like the ping pong so much, but look, if this is getting people watching the sport and then they're coming along to the local table tennis centre, of course, we'd love them to keep playing the sandpaper and come to the World Championship and eventually maybe sometimes try and qualify and even participate in the World Championship. But it gets them into the sport. That's what it's all about. So it's, hopefully we've created an opportunity there for people, and we have seen a growth of ping pong in the UK. Of course, we all know what was going on before and where it's at now. And there are more events taking place and more people playing sandpaper, not just in the UK, around the world. And that was one of the main aims, because when you've got that, you can then start building into the sport itself and the event itself. And actually, I think you've been to Ali Pali almost every year. You see it does grow each year. You get slightly bigger crowds and you've got just a little bit more interest in the event each year that goes on. And that's what we want. If we're seeing progression every year, we're very happy with that.
Okay, then. Yeah, no, that's just one thing. Obviously, yeah, like you say, I've been there every year and I've seen definitely loads of changes, and it's definitely growing in my eyes, but I couldn't tell anyone how I'm measuring that growth. Obviously by the seats being packed out, I suppose, in the finals day. But I think
that's always a good measure.
Yeah,
participation, our social media engagements, the number of people buying a ticket and coming along to the event, they're all ways you can measure, but also the quality, not to knock anything we did in the early days, but if you look at last year's final and compare that to maybe the final the first year we did it, the standard has grown year on year. And actually, I'm sure you've noticed it yourself in the UK, it's got gradually harder to qualify every year. And also there was a point where a certain standard of player could probably come in at the group stage and get through quite easily. Now it's not quite that easy. There was a question from Chris Doran earlier, and he'd lost his first match this year and had to take a different route through the group. And so that's what, an overall global quality. China have obviously got a lot better at it, but other countries as well, including the UK. Andrew Bagley's always been very good, but Chris Doran and, Gavin Rungay was a semi-finalist this year. So that's also a big indicator for us. And I think every year the quality has got better than the previous year, which is something to keep looking forward to as well.
Yeah, no, for sure. And it's something that the players obviously are very aware of, that the standard is moving, is getting higher and higher. So they're obviously going to have to put a lot more practice and focus into the event, which a lot of them are doing, because at the end of the day, it is quite rewarding financially for some of them. And that's probably one of my questions. I'm not sure which one to go for first, but I'll go for this one. What can the players do to help the growth of the sport?
Play for a start. Obviously, one of the things we have is we do know there's limited sandpaper opportunities, so we want to help try and create some more opportunities to play. And obviously there's been a few big events in China recently which have helped, but playing it is one thing, but also the word of mouth. So when you're in your table tennis clubs, I think a lot of people sort of pick up the sandpaper back in December and put it down again at the end of January. Don't, keep playing all year and introducing other people at the clubs to it and people you speak to and in leagues that you play. Tell people about it as well. The more people who watch it, the more people who come to it, the better that is in every sense of the event. So that's huge. We're very lucky actually, and actually you've been involved in that as well. Whenever we've asked players, can you help us with a bit of filming here? We've got a day where we're going down to Sky, or Sky will come to you. Can we film something? You did something for us last year, Ashley, and we're very lucky that the players are happy to do that. And we've never been knocked back on that, which is great for us and great for the sport, because there are limited opportunities for ping pong or table tennis to be in the media. So when we've got national newspaper coverage or Sky Sports coming down to film stuff, obviously the more of that we can get for you guys, the better. But then, your involvement in that is a huge part of it, because it is the characters and the personalities that drive any sport. You know, Gavin Rumgay's a great example of that. You know, Sky love having him on. Gavin is Gavin. Some people love it, some people hate it. But he's a great player. You know, take everything else away. He didn't get to the semi-finals this year by running around doing the Rumgay. He did it by playing. So, you know, there's that. Keep getting better, keep practicing, keep talking about it, keep playing it.
Yeah, and that's probably, so that leads on. So is there going to be more competitions for these guys? I know you mentioned China, but I don't know how involved are you with that, and how it all kind of, do you see like the bigger picture? So if someone wanted to play all year round, someone like Gavin, could he do that?
Yeah, obviously right now that's not really an opportunity for somebody to become a professional ping pong player 12 months of the year. Like you say, they can pick up very good money in January at the World Championship, and the events in China, no, we're not a part of. We're in touch with the guys at Happy Sports who run those, and the promoters over there. They run the qualifying system for the World Championship, and they've put on, as you've seen, a couple of events over there in recent years, which have been brilliant events, and they're great for the sport. And it does mean that you've got that little window now where if you play those events in China in the autumn, you can kind of pick up the sandpaper bat in September, October, and keep playing through to the end of January, and that's fantastic. Ourselves, we're always looking at opportunities to expand and improve and develop. You know, the World Championship does very well each year, and at the minute, one of the negatives is that we do it in January, everyone loves it, we get a lot of momentum, and then it's not back until next January. So that, you know, that's something we're looking at, and I guess watch this space. You know, we're always looking at opportunities to develop and expand every sport that we work in, and ping pong's a part of that. So yeah, obviously challenging times at the moment, so lots of if, buts and maybes around absolutely everything that we do, but you know, hopefully we'll have some good news for ping pong players sometime.
Okay, and does it seem like it's always going to stay in London, the World Championships at the iconic Ali Pali, or is it potentially going to move? Or
well, look, it's got a great home there. Never say never to anything, and we're always looking at opportunities to expand and develop and grow the sport. And if that means moving away from Alexandra Palace, then we wouldn't rule it out. But at the moment, it's got a great home there. The event is fantastic at Ali Pali every year. We get great crowds, and we're very grateful to everybody who comes along to support the event. You know, everyone who buys a ticket, everyone who comes along and is part of that atmosphere, which is, you know, people talk now about the atmosphere at the ping pong as well, and how great it is as an event to go to. You know, you guys have helped make that, and we're very grateful for that. So, you know, while we've got that, that's something that is part of the event. So yeah, never say never to anything. Each year we assess it and look at it and see what the options are, and if there's opportunities to grow the sport and develop the event somewhere else, then, you know, we would look at that. But, you know, for now, we do very well at Alexandra Palace, and the event is great there, as I'm sure you'll testify to.
Yeah, no, it's great. It is. And I think we all expected a good atmosphere, but it's different expecting one than actually having one. And like the final was just like nothing else. I mean, Dan from Table Tennis Daily, and he's watched a lot of table tennis. He was just taken back by the continuous quality of every rally. I think that's the difference. There was no like one or two ball rally. A lot of the rallies were 8, 10, maybe more. I'm not even sure. I haven't really counted, but it'll be interesting just to see some stats on that match, because
yeah, I think we counted one rally of over 20, which was just phenomenal. And it's one of those things, you know, we can do everything we can as the promoter, and we do, to try and encourage that atmosphere and have a great setting, a great arena, and encourage that atmosphere. But it's the quality of the play that really makes it. And yeah, again, the sandpaper bat, you know, adds to that and helps that along and helps you get those great rallies. But some of the table tennis and ping pong that we saw in January was fantastic. And you know, we're really lucky. And also that the guys who play it at that level, especially when you get down to that Sunday evening, they've worked really hard. You know, Andrew Bagley's training regime before the World Championship of Ping Pong is intense. He treats it like any other pro sportsman would treat a World Championship event. And the more players who do that, the better the quality is going to get. And you see that with the guys from China, Yan Weihao, Wang Shibo. Alexandra Fleming, you know, he's been to 3 finals now and still not won one, and he's one of the best players to watch every year. And you know, Gavin stepped it up as well this year and got himself to the semi-final for the first time, which was a great result for him. And yeah, Andrew made it 4 wins, and he's going to be very hard to stop because the way he takes it so seriously and trains so meticulously along with Stephen that, you know, you do end up with those great results where you've got 2 top-level world-class players against each other. You're going to get rallies like that.
Yeah, you rolled off a few names there. I just want to know, I'll put you on the spot a little bit. Who's your favorite player?
Oh, I don't know if I can answer that one without upsetting a few people. If I had to pick an absolute favourite, I really like watching Flash Fleming. I think he's an attacking front foot player. He's got a lot of flair about him. You're always rooting for him. But then in the final, I think when the final was on this year, I was just rooting for each set to go one more set. I wanted it to go best of 5 all the way. I didn't want someone to win 3-0 because the quality deserved more. And each set was so tight that it could have gone either way. No, I do like watching Alex Fleming. Chris Doran is brilliant. He's a really good guy as well. Bagley is undoubtedly the best at it. I think, 4 World Championships proves that. And some of the players who come over from China and the Philippines as well bring a different style than perhaps what we're used to seeing from the British and European players. So it's a tough one to pick. There's a good pool of players there. I've kind of already said Fleming. I don't want to discount Andrew Bagley in any way. Gavin Rumgay brings a lot to the event with the crowd that he brings in and with his sort of style, not necessarily of play, but of in the arena, his dancing around brings something different. No, there's too many to try and pick just one. And I can't discount yourself as well, Ashley, of course.
Yeah. I've had my moment. 2014, I think, was my moment. But no, there's so many players. It's hard to call. It's hard to call. If someone asks me who's going to win, although Andrew has won 4 times, it's such fine margins.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even Rumgay I know he got to the semi-final, but he was nearly out in the last 32, last 16. He says it himself. It's so fine margins. But what I like is what you mentioned is the characters. And it does take time because it's obviously once a year. But now we've got like a solid base of 7 years behind us.
Yeah.
6, 7.
We've actually done 8 World Championships now. The first one was 2013. So there's been 8 of them now.
Yes. So there's 8 championships. So we've actually got each player has actually got their character, and people buy into that and understand their characters now. So the fans, though, coming on to the fans, what do you notice? Who has the best set of fans?
I'm presuming you're asking me by nation rather than by player. Yeah, because the Irish always make a lot of noise, as you would expect. If we get a good crowd from Holland and Germany are very good. Obviously, Gavin brings quite a lot down from Scotland. Ashley, in the past, you brought your entire football team one year, and they get into it. I would say ping pong has the best fans. On the whole, I think what really makes it is every sort of, not necessarily every player, but sort of group, every nation quite often, they bring their crowd. So the Dutch bring a small number, the Irish, and the Irish will sometimes support the Scottish, depending on who's playing. And it's having that all at the same time that really helps. And one thing that was really noticeable, especially this year, is, we get quite a few of the London Chinese community come and watch the World Championship of Ping Pong. They were getting into it and they brought a drum along and they really wanted to be part of that atmosphere. And that's not necessarily something that is in their culture at sporting events to have that kind of atmosphere, but they really brought into it as well. So I think it needs everybody's involvement there. If you just had the Irish fans and nobody else, it wouldn't be anywhere near the same. So I think the ping pong fans are the best fans, to kind of sidestep that question a little bit.
Yeah, no, good answer. And you explained it well, yeah. And it's right. I thought you was going to forget that. I was going to jump in and remind you. But yeah, the Chinese with the drum, it's fantastic. Yeah. It's totally against the kind of the things you see in table tennis, obviously. And it was so good to see them getting involved. And they're well up for it as well. They're well up for the atmosphere.
Absolutely. They've bought into that event and the style of the World Championship of Ping Pong, which does, apart from the fact it's sandpaper, there's a lot else that sets the World Championship of Ping Pong aside from traditional table tennis. And yeah, it was great to see that, the Chinese fans really got into it as well this year. And a shame for them they didn't have a player in the final. But if that had been a European against a Chinese player in the final, then you'd have had a really great atmosphere because, we've seen in the past when we've had those kind of finals, all the European fans back the European player, all the Chinese fans back the Chinese player. But this year they'd have been making noise as well. So that would have been really interesting.
Yeah, it was good. Just a final couple, I suppose. Has Barry or even Eddie had a go at the ping pong? And I would like to see. I feel a lot of people like to see a little grudge match between those two.
That would be interesting, wouldn't it? They have. I mean, one thing that Barry's always said about the sports that we get involved in is you've got to have a passion for it. I don't want to get this wrong, so I won't be too specific, but Barry was somewhere along the lines of a junior county table tennis champion back in the day. I'm not sure exactly what it was, but yeah. So Barry's always had kind of an interest in the sport, and the sandpaper obviously sets aside from table tennis and sponge bat. But yeah, they've had a go. We've got bats in the office. Every now and again, Barry will pop his head in and grab a few more bats. I believe the table from one of the finals a few years ago is actually at Barry's house. So I'm sure they're having grudge matches between themselves, but whether we'd be able to film one at some point is another story. But yeah, very much, Barry's really into it and plays as well. He's still incredibly active. So yeah, they're players of it. And yeah, maybe we'll try and set that grudge match up at some point.
Yeah, that would be cool. And maybe Andrew could come go along and give him a few lessons, a few tips.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, certainly he couldn't play against him. I think we'd have a clear winner there. But yeah, why not?
Yeah, that'd be cool. Do you play yourself?
You know what? I had a few lessons a few years ago down at Bats in Harlow and was comically bad. It's one of those where if I pick up a bat and have a little rally, I can play and knock about. But if I try and do the things right technically, it all just falls apart. So, look, I'm sure everybody's noticed at times, during that World Championship weekend, especially when it's down to one table on the Sunday and there's a few spare tables out the back, we all have a little knock every now and again. But no, you certainly, I think if I went to one of the qualifying events this year, maybe one year I should enter Last Chance just to see, but it would be a gift for whoever was drawn against me.
Yeah, no, that's it's interesting. Yeah, and it's funny you say that actually, because I was going to say it's like when you watch the World Championships for the whole weekend, the first thing you want to do is go and play. If you have, like, I just want to play. I just want to hit the ball. It's just I want to have a go. So it's got that feel about it.
It has. It's one of the great sports for being able to do that. Credit to Table Tennis England. They've done a great job of getting table tennis tables out and about around the country so people can just go and play in town centres, in parks and things like that. And of course, we have a few tables available at the World Championship Ping Pong. We have the brilliant urban crazy golf style tables with the fried egg and the glass, but we also have some proper tables there. And through John Dennison, we've got some coaching down there this year as well, which we'll carry on doing. So people can go and have a go because, what I think the single biggest or most asked question I get from spectators at the ping pong is, where can I get a bat? Where can I get some balls? How can I go and play? Because it is infectious. You just want to pick up a bat and go and play. And, that's great because that drives participation in the sport. And that's, what it's about, because in turn that then, and I'm sure there are now people going to Ellenborough for the qualifying who've grown into the sport, having gone to Ali Pali and watched the pros at it. So, it's great that ping pong is one of the sports you can do that.
Nice. And just final question for me, and thank you for your time as well. Where can people buy tickets and where can people buy a bat if they want to play?
So tickets at the moment we haven't got on sale for next year. We've got a few things to do just to finalise next year's event. Obviously with the current climate, we're just going to hold on ticket sales for now. I don't think people are buying tickets isn't at the forefront, but when they will be available, they'll be worldchampionshipofpingpong.net. If you're not already following us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, that's the best place because we will post about that when it happens so that people can get the tickets. And in terms of the bats, we're partnered up with Topspin now, who have the bats and sell the bats. So, great guys, Tom and John at Topspin, and they'll get the bats. And I believe there's a new order due to land very soon, ready for this year as well. So we'll get the new batch of bats. So, yeah, we do sell them at the event itself. If you come down to Ali Pali, you can get one. But if not, get in touch with the guys at Topspin. I believe if they're still in stock, they have them on their website.
Perfect. Yeah, I'll leave a couple of links down in the description, and people can keep in touch with the latest news and get involved and get playing. But
absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, no, thanks for your time. Really appreciate that, man. It was quite interesting, to be fair. And I hope you don't get you in any trouble at Matchroom. But you didn't give
No, not at all. Good to catch up, Ashley. I hope you're keeping well. I hope you're still finding an opportunity to play at this time as well. I don't know if you've got a table at home or access to a table, but hopefully we'll see you trying to qualify for Ali Pali this year.
Yeah, do my best. I'll do my best.
Really, good luck.
Cheers. Thank you.
Thanks, Ashley. Take care.
Bye. Bye.